So, hello and welcome on Rugby Talk, episode 7. Today we have current New South Wales Waratahs, inside centre, and former Western Force and Australian U20, Henry O'Donnell. Welcome on Rugby Talk, brother.
Thanks very much. Great to be here.
How you doing?
Yeah, very good. Just on holidays, just finished up we got 2 days left, go back in 2 days. So just lapping up some of the Australian sun before we head back for the season starting on Feb 14.
That's been lovely. And how does that feel being back almost the last few days before the season actually starts, pre-season starts?
Well, we've actually just come off. So we started pre-season in November. We've done the last 8 weeks and we've been given 10 days off. So I guess this time of year is just celebrate Chrissy, New Year's with family and loved ones. I get up the coast with my family, just 4 hours out of Sydney. So that's just relax up there and get ready for the hectic time of year to start.
Brilliant, man. So that's all year round. Rugby all year round, a couple of days off and then back into it again.
Yeah, not many days off these days, but we do well. We do what we can with it.
Definitely have to make the most of it. And starting off, Henry, I know you are pretty young. I'm a couple of years older than you are. So when you were growing up, where in Australia did you grow up? And what was your education like? How did you start?
So I grew up in Sydney. I was born in Sydney. My mum's from Queensland, my dad's from Sydney. They met down here. So I got 2 younger sisters. So we grew up, just on the North Shore in Sydney. Pretty beautiful place of the world. I went to the local Catholic school, and then I was pretty lucky that I ended up going to one of the big private schools in Australia, St Ignatius College, and that's a big rugby school. So I was pretty lucky. Met a lot of friends there, and friends I still play rugby with, and I think that was a pretty big part of my childhood and growing up.
Awesome, man. So I remember that I started a pretty popular rugby school close to me. I started at about, I think, 6 years old. And that's where the love of the game actually started. Well, and then growing up watching my dad, my uncles play every weekend, we were there at the rugby. So that was always awesome to watch. And Saturdays rugby day, so we would watch some local club rugby, and you spend the rest of the day there from the afternoon till the evening.
Oh, 100%. Some of the schoolboy rugby and club rugby days, when you're even club rugby now, when we're playing schoolboy and club rugby, nothing compares to a bit of tribalism rugby, like those local derbies in your hometown and stuff. I think that's stuff that makes you fall in love with the game and stuff you miss when you get a bit older as well, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely. Because I remember, not only in school, but not only with club rugby specifically, when I was playing in those derbies and how packed the field is, and there's no place to park and all of that, so you have to make sure that you arrive early.
Oh, 100%. Some of the schoolboy games we used to play in, we were getting 10,000 people there, 10 to 15,000 people there, like some pretty crazy stuff.
That's massive. And if you talk about 10,000 people, if you're playing or even watching, comparing it to a proper stadium, like 5-fold the numbers, how does that feel to play like when you made your debut and you had to play in front of like 50,000 people? The feeling of me.
Yeah. It's different because at school, it's a bit like more crowded in, but like my debut this year was at Eden Park for the Force, and it's a pretty daunting stadium to say the least. There's a big old hill that you drive down through, and then you're under the tunnels, and there's all Blues and All Blacks memorabilia on the wall, and yeah, it's pretty daunting, but it's also pretty cool.
I wish I could make my debut at Eden Park, but that's
Yeah.
brilliant. And how did it feel with your family being there?
Oh, yeah, my family being there was awesome. My family's um, been a massive, massive part of my life, supporting me. But not only supporting me, just you know what family like. Family is very important to me, and I think for them to be able to come over to Auckland was pretty special for me. It's also a big tribute to them of how much they've helped me, because I think where I am would be not possible without early morning lifts to school, helping with countless things that like I'm so grateful for. But yeah, I think it's a big credit to them and tribute to them, and it was really special to have them there.
Awesome, and that's all we need is support. And going through your debut and that week leading up to your debut, who was the coach who supported you the most, who believed in you? Was it the head coach? Was it the assistant coach? Who gave you that chance?
I think it was the head coach. I think I'd been knocking at the door for a while. I'd been 24th man, which is, for people who are not sure, every 23 selection there's usually an extra back and an extra forward on the bench that warm up in case someone goes down injury. So I was 24th man for maybe the first 7 rounds of the season. So I knew I was close, but like just wasn't getting the shot. So I think eventually the coach decided that I was training well enough and announced it as a surprise in a team meeting. And luckily I have lots of close friends in that Western Force team, so they all got around me. My 2 roommates were there. So it was pretty special, and I think the boys made it a really special week for you, especially when boys are debuting. They make it a really special week for you by, I don't know, pumping you up and stuff. But it was good fun. I was so glad to be a part of it.
Awesome, man. That sounds exciting stuff. And especially if you have guys in the squad that's close to you, guys who can always support you, more experienced guys at times, can whisper a few things in the ear to assist you with this and assist you with that. That's always awesome. Who would be then the leaders in the squad at the time when you were at the Force? Who would be the leaders in the squad for you?
I think the leaders in the squad were probably, in the back line was definitely Nick White. Nick, he's a very loud character, and he's very loud behind closed doors as well, but he really drives the standards. Gets the most out of especially younger boys like myself. So he's in your ear the whole week. Nothing too crazy, but he's in your ear the whole week about like, this is what you can do, this is what we got to do, this is what's coming at us. We also had a good friend of mine, Ben Donaldson, 5'8", so he was very like a calming sort of person, just giving me confidence, just saying, don't worry mate, just go out there and do your thing, like boys believe in you. But probably Nick White, he was probably the main leader in that back line. That probably stands out.
Awesome, years of experience. And I've actually had a look at the Western Force squad for this year. I almost said next year, but this year the squad looks really, really good. Couple of young guys, but also a couple of wallabies in there. So when you made your professional debut in the Force, how did the contract talks come about when you joined the Force at first?
Join the Western Force?
Yeah. How did the contract talks come about?
So I obviously played that 20s in South Africa, and I was in the Waratahs system, and I was knocking on the door for a contract there. But in front of me was Lalakai Fiketi and Izzy Parisi, and I 2 Wallabies, 2 very, very, very good players, and I thought it was probably a good opportunity for me to move away from home to grow life experience, but also probably find more opportunity over at the Force, which I ended up finding 5 games, which I was very grateful for. But yeah, that was probably how the contract talks came about. They approached me after that 20s tournament I had, and I had coffee with Simon Cron when they were over in Sydney, and it kind of just ramped up from there.
Also, my exciting was that you knew now you're going to get an opportunity, possibly a great opportunity than the Waratahs. And how daunting was it to move away from your family?
Yeah, moving away from my family was hard at the start, but if I'm being honest, I loved it. I think it's grown me up, and looking back on it, I think it's done so much for me in the last 12 months, moving away from my family, teaching me how to live on your own. I think everyone's first time moving out of home really grows a lot of people up. So like I was grateful for that opportunity, but at the same time, the boys over in Perth, a lot of them aren't from Perth, a lot of them from country New South Wales, Sydney, Queensland. So we all live with each other over there. So I think a lot of the boys are in pretty similar boats, and it's a pretty tight knit social group over there, because we don't have many friends outside of the rugby environment, like a place like the Waratahs, where you have probably the majority of your squad from Sydney. So I think that was a really cool thing about Perth, that we only really had each other over there. So I think that's what made it a bit of fun and maybe a bit easier.
Awesome, and that's brilliant, because everyone working together, everyone coming for the same common goal to achieve their dreams. And with maturity, you can't really say it comes with age, comes with experience. So that experience is obviously going to help you. And then after were you offered a year contract, and then that's why you moved back to the Waratahs? Is that why this year?
I will say I initially signed a 1-year contract, and we're in contract negotiations again at the Force, and I love my time at the Force, but a contract opportunity popped up at the Waratahs, and I think just me, it's my hometown, it's a club I grew up going for my whole entire life, the club I probably had aspirations and dreams to play for. So when deciding between the Force and the Waratahs, it was a bit of a no-brainer to come home to the Waratahs, because I think growing up all I ever wanted to do was play for the Waratahs.
Of course, hometown, home team that you support. I think that's any guy's dream come true. And talking about the Waratahs, I had Jack Bowen on not too long ago. It was great to have him on as
my
well.
good mate. Yeah.
So I know he plays 10. Do you prefer playing at 12 only or 13 as well?
I always played 12. So Jack and I went to school together from year 7. So we played all the way through the same school and all the same teams, all the same rep teams. And I always played 12. But then when I got to the under 20s in 2023, Nathan Gray, our coach, we had a lot of inside centers, and Nathan Gray, our coach, said, I reckon you could have a crack at 13. So I played 13, and then I started playing 13 at club, and I bid in Super as well. So I probably played more 13 in the last few years, but I do love both.
So last year, I only went back to the club for the last 5 games of the season. And I decided, I told my wife, like, look, it's almost the end of the season. I haven't played this year yet. Let me just go and join for the last few games. And the first game I came back, I played actually at 13. Following week I played at 12, which I prefer, but I always played at 10. Actually, like my whole life I grew up playing at 10. Then at 15, and my last 4 games I came in as a sub for the second last game, at 15, and I've been playing 13 all along, and I had to get used to it, to adjust, and I actually starting to enjoy it now. So even they select me at 12 or 13, it doesn't matter anymore. I used to only be worried about playing at 12, but 13 isn't too bad either.
Yeah, actually 13, especially while I'm really young and a bit of more of a loose player, probably not like I'm probably going to get bigger for like a 12. But while I'm young and a bit faster and a bit of like a loose player with like a good outside running game, like I don't mind playing 13. I think it's quite enjoyable, especially when a team's on the front foot and your team's passing you the ball. So next time you talk to Jack, tell him to do that.
Oh, he doesn't like to pass.
Nah, he does. He's very good at that.
I've definitely seen. thing actually it's a highlight for me. Our last game we played, so this was a game that was postponed, and then they made it at the end of the season, right? This was for the second team. So I played at 13, and then I know that the field is extremely muddy, but I know that if those guys broke through, I think it was the 15 that came through. If I didn't make that tackle in their 22, then they'd have been clean through. So that felt pretty good, especially when you're making the side tackles. And then later on in the game, I think the last 10 minutes I got subbed off. 10 got hurt. And then I called by the coach again to go on at 10. That's very nice if the coach knows that you versatile, can trust you in different positions. So that's also to have the backing of your coach and your teammates and self as a person, as an individual, as a player. To have the confidence to just be ready for anything at any moment as well.
Yeah, 100%. Super important.
And how do you, just say for example, I know that as a professional player, you have to work on being ready for anything. So, say for example, you got called off from the bench, Jack, for example, he maybe just has to go for blood or anything like that. There's no other 10. You're able to just have to slot in there at 10.
Well, I think that's partly down to the coaching to make sure we do have a fullback that can slide in a 10 or something like that. But at the Waratahs, it's really interesting at the moment. So Mike Catt is our new attack coach, the old Irish attack coach, and he's very good, and he's very big on, as a backline, we should all have the same skills. We should all be interchangeable. We're not just relying on 10s to do all the ball playing or here and there. So he's really big on efficiency. So instead of 10s having to run all the way across the field from left to right, controlling the play, we're really big on just efficiency and people slotting in and filling in wherever we are. So I feel like, that's something I'm definitely getting more comfortable with. But in terms of preparing for the unknown or the things that you don't know are going to happen, I think that you can't prepare for them. I think it's just making sure you get your preparation done during the week and you feel confidence. And when you walk into those sheds getting ready for the game, you're kind of completely eased with what's going to happen because you've done your preparation and you're confident in yourself and you're confident in the people beside you. I don't think there's any point stressing about that stuff when you're out in the moment, because at the end of the day, it's just a game of rugby and we play for the love of it. So I think you just got to go in with the mindset of we're a kid, let's have fun. If things are not going right, then we work it out on the run. I think that's probably my big thing. I think you get the preparation done during the week, you'll have confidence when you're out there.
Definitely, that's very awesome, because how you prepare is how you're going to play a game usually, and it's a great mindset to have. I'll definitely keep that in consideration. I've been thinking about this across the holidays now for a long time, because my friends make fun of me, like especially my cousin. I'm a journeyman and I go from club to club. And I told him, you have to experience different things, because at the end of the day, when I stop playing, I don't want to say like, I wish I went to go and play for that club just to experience it. Speaking to Jack as well, I was telling him that I joined the university club. It's more for university guys, but it's the highest club rugby possible that you can join without being scouted. So in our Super Rugby, so I was there for the training and things like that. And what I've learned when I was there for a couple of months, and that even on a Monday, usually Mondays clubs do fitness, so they don't start with fitness. You have to come there ready, and they're not doing fitness. You just jump straight into contact. The first day I came there, it was straight into contact. It wasn't like asking if everyone's okay and whatever. And you had to send in time slots for your 3K run and things like that weekly. There's no training on a Wednesday or so, and that was different. And you moved from field to field and field availability, all of those things. That was a great experience for me. Considering doing it again, perhaps with the other university club, very confident for this year. I think that very important for myself is training and I can definitely feel the hamstrings. I played fives last week. I'm using that for fitness as well, the five soccer courts. So that helps a lot for the youngsters especially. And I can feel the hamstrings are still stiff. So like definitely using a different strategy for my fitness this year. And my wife didn't want me to play anymore because you're always getting injured when this is hurt and that is hurt. So how do you deal with, let's say, an in-season and an off-season? How do you deal with recovery?
Sorry, say that last bit again.
In-season as well as off-season. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can now. Yeah.
How do you deal with your in-season and your off-season recovery for your body?
Recovery. It's a good question, actually. In terms of just recovery, like in season, week to week, a lot of the boys love saunas at the moment, but I'm big into my ice baths probably. I feel like they make my body just feel a lot better. I feel a lot fresher after ice bath. So just after big sessions and big weight sessions, I'll probably ice bath. Our new strength and conditioning coach, Tom Carter at the Waratahs, is really big in our like flexibility. So I think he's really gotten me and my flexibility. But in terms of other training in the off season, I actually quite enjoy swimming. So I'll just go down to like the local pool and I'll do a kilometre of swimming, which I quite enjoy swimming. Or I'll go into, we have this beach pool near where I live, so I'll head down there and I'll just swim. I find it's good for the joints. Yeah. Not the pounding of running that we get the whole year round. It's good for the joints. It's good for the mind, and I quite enjoy that. So that's probably something else I do. But besides that, in the off season, I'll just probably train with different people, train at different gyms, just get myself out there into probably different stuff that I don't do instead of the repetitive nature of going to the same gym for 12 months of the year. I think it's good for the body and the mind to just do something a tiny bit different. I know boys who on this break will go do hill sprints and go to just different things just to keep the mind ticking over, so we're not getting bored of just running on the field up and back.
Definitely. Thinking about it as well, that no pre-season is the same. I remember a couple of years back, my friend and I running the dunes, running through the sand mine. That was grueling, and I haven't felt that prepared like ever. It was probably my best pre-season, and both of us actually ended up getting injured that year, unfortunately. But this pre-season for myself, I think, is different. The pass is definitely going to help. I've even messaged the coach after the season last year, telling him that I want to move back to 10. And something I personally need to work on, I think is my diet, definitely. So I feel diet played a role, especially when there's no coaches around. So what's the
Sorry, what was that last bit? Just my diet in season and off season?
How do you incorporate your diet without dietitians being there? How do you incorporate that in your personal lifestyle when it's off season?
I think it's really important to, first of all, number one, I think it's just a balance. I think there's two ways to look at it. Number one, when you're in off season, I think it's really important to relax and be able to have food and enjoy food with friends and family and not be stressed about what you're eating, because I feel like I've been there before where I'm like, oh, I don't want to put too much weight, or I'm trying to lose weight, and you're stressed about it, and it makes events like that unenjoyable. But at the same time, you never want to be coming back to pre-season in bad nick. I think you always want to be coming back to pre-season in good nick, because pre-season should be about getting yourself better, not getting yourself fit to then start getting yourself better at the start of the season. So I think that's what I try and use preseason to get myself better as a player, where instead of having to try and get fit and strong, even though we're doing that hand in hand by doing big sessions and stuff like that, but really don't think you should be coming back in horrible nick to try and get yourself fit. So I think the way I incorporate is just a good balance. I think the foods I eat, I'm not too much of a picky eater. I think the foods I eat are pretty consistent. Like for breakfast every single morning, I just have yogurt, a bit of granola and some berries. Lunches, I'd stick to just chicken, rice, avocado, pretty basic stuff. And then dinner's usually just like red meat and a salad and maybe some potatoes or some fish. I'm pretty consistent with what I eat, and I don't really get too bored of the food I eat. So I think that probably helps me the most. But I also think it's very important to, especially times like Christmas, to not feel guilty when you're maybe indulging in a few extra desserts or whatever.
That's great advice. So definitely the key word that I can take out today is balance. Because I think when sometimes as individuals, when we focused on achieving a certain goal, we only think that it has to be like this. There's no other way around it, but there are always ways around it, and you have to make sure that perhaps you work with those extra desserts and things like that.
100%. I also find when I'm balanced, my mind's more at ease, and when I go out to train, I'm a lot more clear, confident, and ready to do the task at hand. I find when I'm stressed and I feel like I didn't do this, or I didn't do that, or I'm stressing about this or stressing about that, then I'm really unclear on the field and probably too much emotional energy and stuff like that. So I think balance is probably something I've definitely been working on, but also like a key thing to high performance.
Yeah, definitely. I've even thought about, besides preparation has always usually been good. For my diet personally, been working on cutting out the bread and the potatoes, those extra carbs, because personally I don't like rice. I like having my food with bread. But working on cutting that out, and just working on the fitness, especially this week, trying to go back to the gym consistently. And I don't know what do you think about this? Having, as if you're not fit, incorporating like a Bronco every couple of days, and then comparing the time, like as you get fitter later on, comparing your time from when you started until now. Do you think that can work, like with a quick fitness upgrade?
Well, we run the Bronco, so I've got a Bronco coming in 2 days. I haven't been doing any Broncos in this break, but I've been doing like broken Broncos and stuff, and I've been running, but I'm not sure. I've never really thought about it like that. I personally never do full Broncos back to back to back, because I think they're a bit mentally fatiguing maybe. So I'll do other form exercises and come back maybe I'll come back and run one every like 3 weeks or 2 weeks and see how we go through our fitness to that. That's probably how I do it.
Okay. Running on the treadmill, running on the road or through the sand dunes, it's not comparable, is it?
No.
Not at all. Because I've been thinking, like, I'm running on the treadmill, maybe 1 kilo, 1.5, 2K, but it's not the same. Can't compare that to fitness.
Nah, there's nothing you compare to a game. There's absolutely nothing. You can do as much fitness as you want, but you still feel buggered after the first 5 tackles you make in a game. We've done something pretty interesting this year. I was in rehab. I hurt my hamstring after our last grand final for a club, and we did a lot of the there's a big set of stairs down at Coogee, maybe like 500 stairs. So as a rehab team, we'd go down there and we'd run the stairs for about an hour twice a week. And very, very, some of the hardest sessions I've ever done. But I think I'm feeling very fit and strong, probably from the stairs, I think. So I think there's definitely benefits to doing sand dunes and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, rugby fitness is purely rugby fitness, and I don't think there's anything you can do to really replicate it.
Definitely. Like my father would always say, we used to run the dunes, you guys need to run the dunes and all of that. You can't do this and you can't do that because you're unfit. Or that's like every year's thing. But what I've seen is that as the games progress, and sometimes because of certain reasons like of work maybe, or I joined later on in the season, I wouldn't have pre-season games, and I joined like after Ramadan, after we done fasting, and then I joined, and then I come there and just slot in. I think that's because of years of experience of playing perhaps, but as the games progress, you definitely think like it's towards the end of the season now, you think, I wish I had this fitness earlier. So that's something I would want to achieve again, coming into the season fit and ready from the get-go, because obviously we set certain goals for ourselves. Get to the first team, we're playing every week, start. So what would be your goals for this season?
My goals for this season are make my debut for the Waratahs. Be a lifelong dream come true. And then I really want to be it's big few years for Australian rugby coming up. So I really want to be a big contributor to the Waratahs this year. Not just playing a few games off the bench and stuff, like getting a few games starting and being a really big contributor to the squad. And really, I've set myself like individual skill goals and stuff, and I think I'm a big person that's driven by small steps of getting better at my ball playing and getting better at that. So there's all little stuff in there, but I think my main goal is probably big contributor to the Waratahs and trying to push myself into the conversation for higher honours and events that are coming around, like 2027 World Cup and all of that stuff. So I think that's probably my big thing, is just to have a really, really, really solid year and be a big contributor to the group.
That's great vision, definitely. And as a young guy, you can definitely do it. I think you can definitely do it. Young guys around you, friends around you, you guys can push each other and have great competition between yourselves. And
100%.
you're talking about the Waratahs. My favorite first rugby player was actually Derek Barnes. I don't know why.
Really?
I actually support I support the All Blacks actually, but I've always admired Derek Barnes. So 12, 10, not only positional, but just the way he played. I think like Australian rugby at the time, they relied on him a lot, and with Kito and George Cregan, legends like that. So who did you look up to while growing up? Who was your favorite rugby player that inspired you?
Probably Adam Ashley Cooper. He was probably he's also from my club team, my local club team, so he plays for them. So a lot of people know him, and I'm actually pretty lucky too. He's on the board of our club now as well, so I actually know him. I know him now, and which this is pretty crazy for me because I watched him grow up all the way. But I think Adam Ashley Cooper. I think the reason is probably because he was never the fastest person on the field. He was never the biggest centre. He was probably never the most skillful centre. But I think he just had the whole package. I think his competitiveness, and I think he was just like such a dangerous player not because he was the biggest or the fastest, but he was just like so strong. And he just had like a really good sense of the game. And I think that's why I was probably attracted to him, because I'm never going to be a centre like Ma Nonu or Sonny Bill Williams or someone like that. I'm just never going to be that big, and I'm not the fastest person ever. So I think just being having good game awareness, core skills, and communication, I think are probably really important things. And I think, if anyone shows it, Adam Ashley Cooper showed that, he was very good at it.
Awesome, and great player to highlight. And there's really good things you're speaking about, especially about our size and things like that. I've seen you guys, and you guys are pretty tall, much taller than what I am. So you're probably close to Sunnyville Williams and Mananu, way closer than what I am. But I know I'm not the fastest. But when I'm playing at 12 or even at 13, whichever position I'm playing, I like to be direct. I don't care how big the guy opposite myself is. I'm going to run straight into him. I'm not going to try and dodge him and whatever. I'm going to run him out of the way. So that's what I always back myself, because I don't want to go half-heartedly into challenges without making a tackle or anything like that. So as a young guy, obviously focused now on your rugby career, what is your education and your life goals for yourself?
I'm currently studying a Bachelor of Business. So I'm just doing that on the side. My life goals. I think outside of rugby, completely non-rugby related, I think to just have a life goals is just to let my kids grow up the same way I grew up, with lots of opportunity, have a stable family, travel the world. I think that's probably my life goals. I'm a pretty basic man. I think they're probably the life goals. Yeah.
And how was Cape Town? If you're thinking back about talking about traveling the world, how was Cape Town when you were here?
Yeah, I loved it. It was crazy, especially being on there while in the 20s, in the midst of it. Sometimes in Australia, I think we forget how big rugby is in other parts of the world.
Earlier on, we spoke about experience and you leaving your home. And I said that with maturity, it's not always about age, it's about experience. So when you were traveling with the Australian under-20 team, how has that experience helped you mature? Being independent, yes, you were the group of guys and people looking out for you, but how's that experience shaped your life?
I think 20s shaped my life in a lot of ways. Probably still the best rugby experience I've ever been on. It was absolutely crazy, and I'd go back in an absolute heartbeat to be with a bunch of boys we were with playing for your country. In terms of the rugby, I think it shaped me in the way of how to be professional. I think they didn't take it too crazy seriously, but it's a really good stepping stone from schoolboy rugby into how to be a professional rugby player. This is what professional rugby players do. We need to stretch at night times. We need to do our recovery. The seriousness of games, it's stuff to be a bit pressure on you for games. You're playing for something a bit more than just your mates in school and whatnot. I think life experience outside of it was just traveling the world, seeing how big rugby is, how the South Africans absolutely loved rugby, playing against people from different countries, when speaking different languages, when all you've been used to is playing people who live 10 minutes down the road from you. So I think that was just an absolute crazy experience in itself. And yeah, I loved it. It was definitely probably the best rugby experience I've ever done.
Brilliant, man, brilliant. I actually went to go and watch the South Africa versus New Zealand this year's at this year's under-20 World Cup. So the field was about, I think, like 20 minutes away from. Yeah, it was terrible. But that's the first time I've ever seen a conversion being reviewed by the TMO, and the New Zealand eventually won.
I remember that one.
That was the first time, because it was difficult watching from the side and thinking it looked like it went over, but did it actually go over? And they actually had to review it.
Yeah, I remember watching that one actually. I remember seeing that.
And just before that, actually, we were watching the All Blacks, and considering the gameplay and things like that. It's crazy that in that few minutes, with any club, specifically in such an environment, the different plays they had to do, the few minutes left, and you just have to be sharp all the time, and you have to know those schools. So is it easy to adjust? I know coming into a new environment, you have to learn very, very quickly. Is it individual thing? Do you think it's based off what your teammates can assist you with? Do the coaches have patience?
Are you saying new players coming in and learning a playbook sort of thing?
Yeah.
Well, when you're learning like a new playbook as a team, like you got a new coaching staff in, and you're learning a new playbook as a team, I think there's obviously always going to be like a big teething period. We were pretty lucky for our 20s, for example, like the players from all around Australia, different clubs and stuff. We had like camps in Canberra, the Australian Institute of Sport throughout the year, and we'd go for about 7 days, and they'd introduce a bit of our playbook, and then we'd go home, play some games, we'd come back in, maybe some new people as well, 7 days, we'd introduce some more, so it was kind of like a slow process. Same with the Waratahs at the moment. We have a new coaching staff, so they've slowly been drip feeding into us. So by the time we hit February 14, we're kind of all over it. But I think it's a really big expectation, especially in a professional environment, that players are, if you don't know your stuff, you're going home and you're making sure you learn it. Because I think, especially for us, like, we don't have time on field to be teaching people content that they should already know. And I think a lot of boys, like young boys sometimes, like stuff up. And if you stuff up because of your skill, coaches are usually fine with it. But if you stuff up for a knowledge reason, it's probably not acceptable in environments like us, because I think we just waste time otherwise trying to everyone to get that stuff right. I think everyone has one role in certain stuff, and all you do need to do is know your role and do your job to the best of the ability, and all the puzzle pieces go together, and that's how you get a high functioning, consistent rugby team.
Yeah, it's a perfect statement that you're given there. Very mature as well. I remember being with the university club as well. All the plays I've seen in the groups and things like that, you need to know. And we've played it from the under 20s right through to the first team has been played with the same call. So when the guy gets called up, it's the same call already. He already knows what to do. That's something that I've taken from there as well. So I'm a teacher, and I started the rugby a couple of years back at the school. The school didn't have rugby. So you have to teach the kids the game from the beginning. They never played it before. They've only seen it on TV. And last year wasn't very good year for us. I've tried different strategies, but I do have more people now from the teachers on the coaching staff and things like that. Especially the young kids. Assist young kids at schools with coaching when you have free time.
I've done a bit of stuff like that. I've done a bit of coaching at schools. I think this year I'm going to try and give back to my school and try coach at my school just to give back. I think they gave me so much. I think it's a good time to give back. But even though I'm still young, I enjoy coaching, but I think I'll probably wait for the coaching whole aspect maybe till I'm a bit older.
Definitely. And Henry, to end off, what advice would you give for young boys coming through, young boys who watch the podcast, young boys watching you, young boys watching Super Rugby? What advice would you give them in terms of becoming a professional rugby player?
Oh, it's a tough one. I've been asked that before. I think the thing that I always tell myself, I think number one, I think it's so important to have confidence in yourself, because you have to believe in someone, and it may as well be you. I think there's no point believing that you can't do it, because you've already put yourself out of the game. But I think the thing that I always, especially me who's on the verge of cracking it, or maybe boys who are like 16, I think you're always a lot closer than you think you are. I think a lot of people write themselves off and put themselves down. I think you're always a lot closer than you think you are. And I think just staying patient and consistent with what you're doing and believing in yourself, I think people will eventually drop off, and you'll eventually get there if you put enough time and energy into it.
Perfect statement, man. Good luck, Henry, for Monday's return back to the Waratahs.
Bronco.
You have to hydrate. It's all about the mindset, they say, and obviously your fitness. You can DM me your time, and then I can compare my time to yours. Send my regards to Jack as well.
Will do.
I hope that Super Rugby is going to be reintroduced, and you guys can come down to Cape Town. You can perhaps have a night out or something like that.
We'd love that. We'd love that. Thanks so much. Appreciate it a lot.
Donald, thank you for coming and rugby talk and taking out the time. I appreciate it.
No worries. Cheers, mate.